Imagine a place hidden from the public eye. It is not a grand hall or a formal office. It might be the dusty back room of a bookstore, its shelves filled with forgotten theories and radical manifestos. It could be a quiet, unassuming coffee shop after hours, where the clatter of cups has been replaced by hushed, urgent voices. Or perhaps it is a digital meeting room, encrypted and anonymous, connecting individuals across cities and continents. These are the modern-day smoke-filled rooms where secret political groups gather. They meet to plan, to organize, and to dream of a different world. Here, dissatisfaction with the status quo transforms into a concrete agenda for change, far from the scrutiny of the government they aim to defy. These clandestine meetings are not born from a single event. They are the culmination of years of simmering discontent. The attendees are not a monolithic block. They are a collection of intellectuals, activists, and disillusioned citizens who feel that the system has failed them. They believe that traditional politics, voting, lobbying, peaceful protest, are no longer effective tools for meaningful change. For them, the election of a figure like Donald Trump was not the cause of their dissent, but the final, undeniable symptom of a deeply broken democratic process. In their eyes, the system had become so corrupted by corporate interests and right-wing extremism that it could no longer be reformed from within. It had to be confronted from the outside. The atmosphere in these hidden spaces is thick with a sense of purpose and paranoia. Every conversation is guarded. Every new face is vetted. Trust is the most valuable currency. The participants discuss strategies, analyze political weaknesses, and debate the ethics of their proposed actions. They study history, looking for lessons in past revolutions and failed coups. They believe they are not conspirators but patriots, acting in the true spirit of a nation founded on rebellion. To them, the government has abandoned its democratic principles, and it is their duty to restore them, even if it means using methods that operate in the shadows, far beyond the accepted norms of political discourse. The goal is to build a vanguard, a small, disciplined group capable of leading a much larger movement. They believe that by striking at the right moment, they can create a political crisis that forces a fundamental shift in power. This is not about winning an election. It is about creating a new political reality. They might plan coordinated disruptions, aim to expose government secrets, or seek to create divisions within the ruling establishment. Their meetings are the first crucial step in a long and dangerous journey. It is here, in these secret assemblies, that the seeds of a potential political overthrow are carefully planted, nurtured by a shared belief that the existing order must fall for a better one to rise. The leaders of these clandestine left-wing groups are not your typical politicians. They do not seek the spotlight or crave public approval. Instead, they are often charismatic intellectuals or seasoned organizers who have spent their lives on the fringes of mainstream politics. A leader might be a former university professor, someone who has dedicated their academic career to studying social movements and theories of revolution. Their power comes from their ability to articulate a clear and compelling vision of what is wrong with society and how it can be fixed. They can take complex ideas about capitalism, power, and oppression and make them feel urgent and personal to their followers, turning abstract theories into a call to action. Another common archetype for a leader is the battle-hardened activist. This is someone who has been on the front lines of protests for decades. They have organized strikes, faced down police lines, and perhaps even spent time in jail for their beliefs. Their authority is not derived from books, but from experience. They understand the practical challenges of organizing a movement, from fundraising and logistics to maintaining morale and security. They are masters of strategy and tactics, able to inspire deep loyalty and discipline within their ranks. These leaders are often deeply skeptical of authority and have a pragmatic, almost military-like approach to achieving their political objectives. Their lived experience gives them a credibility that no amount of theoretical knowledge can replace. These leaders possess a unique set of skills that make them particularly effective in the shadows. They are often masters of persuasion, capable of winning over new recruits and building broad coalitions with other dissident groups. They understand the importance of secrecy and are skilled in the arts of counter-surveillance and secure communication. More than anything, they have an unwavering belief in the righteousness of their cause. This conviction allows them to demand immense sacrifices from their followers and to justify actions that would be considered extreme by mainstream society. Their personal charisma is the glue that holds the organization together, turning a loose collection of individuals into a cohesive and determined force. It is this combination of intellectual depth, practical experience, and powerful charisma that makes these leaders so formidable. They are not simply angry protesters. They are strategic thinkers who are playing a long game. They believe that history is on their side, and that the current political system is doomed to collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Whether they are seen as visionary revolutionaries or dangerous subversives depends entirely on one's perspective. But their ability to inspire and mobilize a dedicated following to challenge the foundations of state power is undeniable. They are the architects of dissent, drawing up the blueprints for a new political order. A secret political movement, no matter how passionate its members, cannot survive on ideology alone. It needs resources. This is where wealthy supporters and powerful allies become critical. These patrons are often not public figures. They may be disillusioned heirs to vast fortunes, tech billionaires who believe the current system is inefficient and unjust, or even former government insiders who have grown cynical about the institutions they once served. They provide the financial fuel that keeps the engine of the movement running, funding everything from safe houses and communication technology to legal aid for members who are arrested. Their motives are varied. Some may seek to create a more equitable society, while others may simply want to disrupt the status quo for their own reasons. The support from these powerful friends extends far beyond simple cash donations. A well-connected ally can provide access to influential circles, helping the movement anticipate the government's next move. For example, a sympathetic figure within the media could help shape public opinion or leak damaging information about political opponents at a critical moment. A lawyer with connections in the justice system might be able to get charges dropped or provide crucial intelligence about ongoing investigations. This network of influential supporters creates a protective shield around the group, allowing it to operate more freely and with less risk of being discovered and dismantled by law enforcement agencies. These relationships are built on a foundation of secrecy and mutual trust. The patrons and the groups they support exist in a symbiotic relationship. The group provides the manpower and the direct action, while the patron provides the resources and the top-level cover. Often, the financial support is funneled through complex webs of shell corporations, nonprofit foundations, and anonymous donations to make it nearly impossible to trace the money back to its source. This financial anonymity is essential for protecting the patrons from legal repercussions and public backlash. They can support a revolution from the comfort of their boardrooms and mansions, their involvement hidden behind layers of plausible deniability. This alliance between radical activists and powerful elites is one of the most dangerous elements of a secret plot. It combines the ideological fervor of a grassroots movement with the resources and influence of the establishment. When a group has both the will to act and the means to do so effectively, it becomes a genuine threat to the existing power structure. The money and connections provided by these hidden patrons can elevate a small group of dissidents into a force capable of orchestrating a serious challenge to the government. They are the silent partners in the plot, their hidden hands guiding and enabling the actions of those on the front lines. History is littered with the stories of secret plots that failed to achieve their revolutionary goals. One prominent example from American history is the Weather Underground, a radical left-wing organization that emerged in the late 1960s. Opposed to the Vietnam War and what they saw as systemic racism, they aimed to overthrow the U.S. government through a campaign of bombings and armed struggle. Despite their determination, their plot ultimately unraveled. A premature explosion in a Greenwich Village townhouse killed 3 of their members, exposing their bomb-making operations and leading to a massive FBI crackdown. The group was forced deeper underground, their grand plans for revolution reduced to a desperate struggle for survival. The aftermath of a failed plot is often brutal for those involved. The full weight of the state's security apparatus comes crashing down on the group. Members are arrested, prosecuted, and given long prison sentences. The government uses the failed attempt as a pretext to expand its surveillance powers and crack down on all forms of dissent, not just the violent ones. The public, often frightened by the group's radical methods, tends to rally behind the government, reinforcing the very system the group sought to dismantle. The story of the Weather Underground serves as a cautionary tale. Their actions, intended to spark a revolution, instead led to their own destruction and a strengthening of state power. Beyond the immediate legal consequences, failure often leads to the complete disintegration of the movement itself. The trust and solidarity that once bound the members together are shattered by arrests, betrayals, and the harsh reality of defeat. Former comrades may turn on each other, becoming informants for the government in exchange for leniency. The ideological certainty that fueled their actions gives way to doubt and recrimination. The movement splinters into factions, each blaming the other for the failure. The dream of a new society dies, and the participants are left to grapple with the personal and political wreckage of their defeated uprising. The legacy of these failed attempts is complex. While they fail to achieve their stated goals, they can leave a lasting impact on the political landscape. They can expose deep-seated social problems and force a national conversation about issues that were previously ignored. However, the price of this is often incredibly high. The violence and extremism associated with the plot can discredit the broader cause they claim to represent, making it more difficult for peaceful, mainstream movements to gain traction. The failed plot becomes a ghost that haunts future generations of activists, a stark reminder of the immense difficulty and profound risks of trying to overthrow a powerful and entrenched government. From the perspective of those inside the secret groups, their actions are not a crime. They are a form of higher justice. They see a government that has become illegitimate, captured by corporate interests and beholden to a wealthy elite. They believe that the system is so rigged that it offers no peaceful avenue for redress. In their view, the social contract has been broken. When a government consistently acts against the interests of its people, by waging unjust wars, destroying the environment, or enabling gross inequality, it forfeits its right to rule. Therefore, taking extra-legal action to challenge or even overthrow that government is not an act of insurrection, but a necessary and moral act of self-defense for the nation itself. These groups often draw inspiration from America's own revolutionary origins. They point to the Declaration of Independence, which explicitly states that when a government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. They see themselves as modern-day sons of liberty, patriots willing to risk their freedom for the soul of the country. To them, figures like Donald Trump are not legitimate presidents, but tyrants who have seized power and are actively dismantling democratic norms. In this context, a secret plot is not a conspiracy against democracy. It is a desperate attempt to save it from those who would destroy it. They believe they are upholding the true spirit of the law, even if it means breaking the letter of the law. On the other hand, the vast majority of society, and certainly the government itself, views these actions as a dangerous and illegal threat to national security. From this perspective, no group has the right to appoint itself as the arbiter of justice and decide to overthrow a democratically elected government, no matter how flawed. Their actions are seen as a direct assault on the rule of law, the very foundation of a stable and peaceful society. They are labeled as terrorists, extremists, and enemies of the state. The government argues that allowing such groups to operate would lead to chaos and anarchy, where any faction that disagrees with policy could resort to violence to get its way. This fundamental disagreement highlights the two opposing faces of clandestine action. Is it a heroic pursuit of justice or a criminal act of insurrection? The answer depends entirely on your point of view and your faith in the existing system. For those who believe the system is fundamentally sound, these groups are a dangerous cancer that must be eradicated. For those who believe the system is terminally ill, these groups are the painful but necessary chemotherapy. This deep divide in perception makes any form of dialogue or compromise impossible. It creates a situation where one side's hero is the other side's villain, and the conflict can only be resolved through a struggle for power. The existence of secret plots to overthrow the government, whether from the left or the right, places democracy on a precarious tightrope. On one side is the risk of allowing these groups to grow unchecked, potentially leading to political violence, instability, and the collapse of democratic institutions. If a government is unable to protect itself from internal subversion, it loses its authority and its ability to function. The result could be a descent into civil conflict, where different factions battle for control. The peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of any healthy democracy, becomes impossible when groups believe they can seize power through force or conspiracy. The very fabric of society is threatened. On the other side of the tightrope is the risk of an overzealous government response. In its quest to eliminate perceived threats, a state can easily trample on the civil liberties of its citizens. The government might use the existence of a few radical groups as a justification for mass surveillance, for infiltrating peaceful activist organizations, and for prosecuting individuals for their political beliefs rather than their actions. This creates a chilling effect on free speech and free assembly. People become afraid to criticize the government or to join any political group for fear of being labeled an extremist. In this way, the fight against insurrection can itself become a threat to democracy, leading to an authoritarian state that tolerates no dissent. This creates a dangerous dilemma for a democratic society. How do you protect the nation from genuine threats without sacrificing the fundamental freedoms that define it? It is a delicate balancing act. A government that is too weak invites chaos, while a government that is too strong invites tyranny. The actions of secret radical groups push the system toward these extremes. Their plots provoke a response, and that response often involves an expansion of state power. This cycle of action and reaction can erode democratic norms over time, gradually replacing an open society with a security state where citizens are constantly watched and their freedoms are curtailed in the name of safety. Ultimately, the greatest risk these actions bring is the erosion of public trust in the democratic process itself. When people see groups on the fringes attempting to seize power through secret plots, and they see the government responding with increasingly authoritarian measures, their faith in normal politics declines. And they begin to believe that the system is broken beyond repair, and that radical action is the only option. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle of extremism. The rise of secret plots is both a symptom of a sick democracy and a cause of its further decline. It signifies a breakdown in the shared consensus that political differences should be resolved peacefully at the ballot box. In a world where secret political plots are a real possibility, ordinary people cannot afford to be passive spectators. The first and most important piece of advice is to stay informed, but to do so with a critical eye. It is crucial to consume news from a wide variety of reliable sources and to be wary of information that is designed to provoke fear and anger. Understand the difference between legitimate protest and a conspiracy to subvert the democratic process. Be aware of the language of extremism, whether it comes from the left or the right. When political leaders or media figures begin to talk about their opponents as enemies of the state who must be destroyed, it is a red flag that democratic norms are in danger. Protecting democracy also means actively participating in it. This goes beyond simply voting every few years. It means engaging in local politics, attending town hall meetings, and holding elected officials accountable for their actions. It means supporting and defending the institutions that serve as the guardrails of democracy, such as a free press, an independent judiciary, and the right to peaceful protest. When these institutions are attacked, whether by a sitting president or a radical group, it is the duty of every citizen to stand in their defense. A healthy democracy requires constant care and attention from its people. It is not a machine that can run on its own. People should also be cautious of any group, political leader, or ideology that claims to have all the answers and demands absolute loyalty. Democracy thrives on debate, compromise, and a diversity of opinions. Groups that operate in secret, that see the world in black and white terms of good versus evil, and that advocate for violence or extra-legal means to achieve their goals, are a threat to an open society. It is important to reject this kind of thinking, no matter how appealing its promises may sound. True, lasting change in a democracy comes from building broad coalitions and winning the slow, difficult battle for public opinion, not from secret plots hatched in the dark. Finally, the most powerful defense against extremism and political instability is to address the root causes that fuel them. Economic inequality, social injustice, and a sense of political powerlessness are the fertile ground in which radicalism grows. As ordinary citizens, people should advocate for policies that create a fairer and more just society for everyone. By working to fix the legitimate problems that lead people to despair of the system, we can reduce the appeal of those who promise a revolution. The ultimate warning is this: A democracy that is not working for the majority of its citizens will always be vulnerable to those who wish to tear it down. The Citizens' Watch is not just about looking for enemies, but about building a society that is worth defending.